Hello, this week I'm going to be doing something a bit different. Rather than a motorbike, I'm reviewing a car. So I won't go into why I've got this car at the moment. I'll explain that, it's a longer story for another time. But I've got a Hyundai Ioniq, which is a hybrid car. So Hyundai make three versions of this car. There's the all-electric version, there's the plug-in hybrid and the hybrid. This is the hybrid, so it has a 1.6 petrol engine as well as an electric motor. So at lower speeds and at higher speeds it uses the electric motor for assistance. So in total it's about 140 horsepower. So this is the startup sequence. So it's keyless ignition. Press the start. So here, every time it comes up with this, which is a little bit annoying. So you have to click that before you can do anything. Then if we press it again, we have lots of beeping, lots of annoying startup noise. Dashboard's pretty cool, loads of info on there. Touchscreen's really good, lots of info there, including info about the sort of hybrid system there. You've got your usual things like radio and media, your phone, sat nav with maps and everything, and this is a touch screen as well, which works pretty well. That's all that. Again, you've sort of got Bluetooth to connect to your phone and play music through there. All usual stuff here, so sort of aircon, that kind of stuff there. In here, on the left hand side, you've got the power meter, so as you're driving it tells you whether you're in sort of power mode, eco mode, or whether it's charging the batteries. This is quite cool that all that is a sort of virtual dashboard. So if I flick it across into sports mode, which it won't let me do because I'm not in drive yet, so if I put it into drive, into sports mode, the dash changes. So again, quite cool the way that works. Your sort of average miles per gallon, and back here you can go through different modes there. Go up and down there, lots of settings. And on the right is how much batteries there. Can I say fuel gauge? Yeah, and there's a fuel gauge down there and your battery gauge there. Something that would drive me nuts with this car is when you switch off, this, it always plays this tune. So check this out, put that back into park, switch off. So it has that sort of shutdown sequence, which, yeah, would get a bit annoying, I think. The strangest thing about an electric car is when you first set off. So ignition's on, you just can't tell because there's obviously no engine noise. I'm in drive and we set off. So we're running on pure electric here, so all you hear is the electric motor. If I accelerate a bit more, that's it, the petrol engine's on now. So onto the equipment and specification of this car. It's a really well specified car. As you can see here, then yes, you've got things like heated seats, you've even got a heated steering wheel, got touchscreen sat nav, aircon, everything you'd sort of expect there. Good dash, even has things, this centre bit isn't fixed, that's a TFT screen, so if I click it across into, first put into drive, if I click it across into sports mode, your whole dashboard changes. So we're now into sports mode, so we've got a rev counter because that's important for sports, and flick back to drive and it's back to normal. Lots of interesting stuff here. As you can see, it's a well-spec'd car. It's also really well put together. So things like the dashboard, that's solid, is that. Plastics are decent. Shut the door and it, that's not tinny, it feels solid. So overall, I think from that perspective, it's really good and really, really well equipped. This is the midline of the range as well, so even the lowest level is really good. So next up is comfort. I actually find the car really comfortable. As I said, it's well specified anyway. The seats are comfortable, the ride quality is really good. It's a nice place to be. It feels quite airy and spacious too. So from a comfort point of view, then yeah, it definitely ticks that box. Here we're doing around 60 mile an hour. It's not much wind noise. We're on sort of petrol power here. It's even quieter there. Now we're on electric and it goes slightly quieter. So yeah, it's a comfortable, quiet. It's nice to drive as well. Soaks up the bumps. So yeah, you can certainly sit in this and do a lot of miles and not have any issues. So next we come on to performance. So this isn't the car's strong point and not really what it's designed for and its target market, but I thought I'd show you sort of how it performs. So as I mentioned before, there is a sports mode. So if we click across into that, now we're in sports mode. So I'll show you what it's like in that. So we've got an empty road here. So it's actually not too bad. I think the 0 to 60 times around 10 seconds, so it's not going to break any speed records, but like I say, it's not really designed for that. The engine is a bit noisy, I think, in this mode, but I just think generally the engine's fairly noisy. Like I say, it's probably unfair to judge it as a sports car because it definitely isn't that. The kickdown's reasonable there. So yeah, so sports mode makes a huge difference to the way the car actually drives, but it's not a sports car. Ride-wise and handling, then again, it's not a sports car. So those thin tyres, if you're pushing on round the corner, they give up fairly easy and you get straight into understeer. The other issue you have, of course, is that it's carrying a lot of weight. So that weight slows down your acceleration. Your brakes, you've got to hit the brakes a bit harder. Again, I think that's weight related. So back to my original point, this isn't a sports car. You can't really treat it as one. It's not an engaging, exciting drive. So I think it's best to drive it how it's supposed to be, click it back into drive, and now we're on electric, so pretty good really. On to economy, the opposite of the sports stuff, then it's pretty good. So I've averaged, it's saying there 68.6, so the last couple of days I've averaged about 70. I think the official figures are about 80, so that's pretty good. Normally official figures are a million miles away from the real world, and that's been a real combination of driving too. I think that in town it would be really good because he'd be using a lot more electric. Here we can see that I'm probably 3/4 charged full. That's because I've been using the engine a lot more, and especially in sort of sports mode when the engine's on all the time, and it does seem to charge the batteries up a bit more too. From a practicality point of view, then it's got a really decent sized boot. A lot of sort of electric cars are compromised boot space. Yes, the sloping back doesn't help in that respect, but it's not too bad on this car. It's no worse than a lot of normal cars. One of the things they do with this, the batteries are actually under the rear seats, so that helps with your boot space because it's not eating into that. It also helps with a bit of the weight distribution, so that's probably why it's quite a comfortable car and it rides quite well. So as I often do with my reviews, I'm going to give you my 3 favourite things about it. So number 1 is how well specified and well built it is. I'm a bit of a car snob. I'd sort of written Hyundai off about 10 years ago when I went in one and really wasn't impressed, but this is really solid. It's as well built as something German, so that was a real surprise to me, so I'm impressed with that. So that's number 1. Number 2 is the economy, and I don't just mean sort of fuel economy. Normally electric cars, I test rode an electric bike a couple of weeks ago and they're a lot more expensive than the equivalent petrol version, so they're sort of twice the cost at least. I think this particular one I'm in is £21,000, so that's actually not bad. It's comparable with its petrol version really, or similar petrol cars. And my final positive is that I think because battery technology isn't quite there yet, then there's no range anxiety if you've got a petrol engine and electric. It does feel like a bit of a compromise, so that's one of the negatives as well. But actually you don't have worries about, well, am I going to run out of electric, and is it going to spend ages charging up? So it sort of works from there, so it's a positive and a negative. So on to my negatives. As I just said, one of the negatives is that I don't think battery technology is quite good enough, or mainstream anyway. Maybe in Teslas you're getting decent range, but in something like this that's obviously built to a different budget, then it does feel like a compromise, because it is, really. Other negatives, I think the petrol engine isn't the best. It's quite loud and thrashy, especially when you're in sports mode and giving it some stick. Gearbox as well, then again that feels like an old school auto instead of a more modern one, so that's a bit of a downside to me. Apart from that, not many negatives. I guess the only other niggle is that sort of start up and shut down sequence that, like I say, it's only a tiny thing, but I think it would really annoy me on a day-to-day basis. So, in summary, what do I think to the Hyundai Ioniq? I think for the sort of person it's aimed at, it is a good car. It's got everything you sort of need. It's practical. You can use it just like a normal car. You're not worrying, oh, I've got to stop for an hour to put electric in, if that's the right expression. You can just fuel up and use it like a normal car. So I think you're doing a lot of town driving, it'd be quite good. But it'd also be good as a sort of family car because it's got the space. Build quality, as I said, really, really good, and a real surprise to me at how good that is. For me though, I'm not the target market for this car, and I do feel it's a little bit too compromised. I think trying an all-electric car would be really interesting. They do an all-electric version of this car, so again, maybe that would be an interesting thing. So finally, I think it's a thumbs up from me. Like I say, for all the reasons I've sort of given there, of it feeling like a normal car, you could just use it like you would a normal car. I think it would work for a lot of people.